Good evening, everyone. This is Jason Anthony, and welcome to our first annual State of Address, The Future of Accessibility. Rise with us. We will uh, love to introduce our co-moderator, Christopher D. Grive. But first, let's go over the housekeeping rules, shall we? First and foremost, we will love everybody to be muted at all times. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please use the hand function at the bottom of your screens and your name will be called. And first and foremost, be respectful with everybody because that is the most thing that we want to be at any professional forum. And if you don't want to raise your hand, you could also put your comment in the chat function, and we will read your comment as soon as we see it. So let's continue. Let's start off with the 2025 to 2029 Capital Plan and the 20 Needs Assessment with Christopher Grive. Take it away, Chris.
And good evening, everyone. This is Christopher D. Greif. I hope everyone is great to see everyone here. Thank you, Jason. Be doing a fantastic job, the famous Jason Anthony. Let's move on to why we're all here tonight or there during the day. And just to remind everyone, everything is we are recording, and yes, we are. Jason, we're correct. We're live on the YouTube channel as well.
Yes, that is correct. We are live on my YouTube channel, Jason Anthony, the Transit Guru. That is live streaming as we speak.
Excellent. Let's move on, shall we? Now, the reason we're all here today, and just going to make sure there's no echoing, the reason we are here today is not just, thinking about the future of accessibility, but it is. As a lot of you know, the late Edith Prentice, a great friend, great leader, a great advocate, was always told us to continue advocating. The future of accessibility rise with us. We thank Edith. And she will always say, keep on advocating, move on. And she will always say to some people, get over it. So just to let everyone know, we are going to move forward, but we do want to thank Edith and everyone advocating. Today, as you know, the capital project is a very important thing. So people who are using their cell phones, like certain people I see, yes, use your cell phone because you have the key code. You can take a picture and automatically, bam, you got the capital. Bam, you got the 20 years needs assessment. And guess what? You can always type it in, just Google it or Apple it and just type it in. It's always good to know. So I'm going to give you some samples. First, we're going to move on to the very important thing. Making the system more accessible to all. As you know, we must continue investing in the ADA accessibility projects all the way up to, yes, to 2020, at least up to year 2045, which some of us will by that will be legends or some other advocates will take over. But we need to move forward. It is not just thinking of elevators, not just thinking ramps, not just thinking everything across the transit system. But we need to think of other technology comes with it. It's not just elevators. It's not just bridges. It's not just pedestrians, not just the platform edges. It's everything. We have to make it fully accessible. And the reason I'm going to move on to other parts, like you have seen, larger signages are coming in. More signages, not just coming in larger, but digital. Some are coming down a little bit to our level. Some areas are coming down to the floor. But the only way to do that is advocating, not just to us, not just to one of us, but encouraging to let our elected officials know moving on to the future to make everything fully accessible, not just for people with disabilities, not just seniors, but all, and not just the veterans, but everyone, to make it safely and move on forward. As you have seen the last couple of years, we have seen construction. Greensboro Plaza is one of them. Greensboro Plaza, since it just opened last year and it was in construction, yes, there were times the stations were closed because of they were refixing the platform, putting in the elevator. Let me say, thanks to that community, Long Island City, and agencies over there who are here tonight as well, we thank you. Putting out the support letters, letting everyone know we need this station to be a full accessible station. But how can we do that? But thanks to them, we got it done. But it's not easy. There are some stations are really, really, really old. And we got to keep on advocating on that as well. So as you see in some parts of the 20 years assessment, you see people are trying out the new stations. Like you see an elevator, you see a ramp, you see platforms are actually right to the street level, to the bus. That's updating accessibility. How can we do that? Making the transit accessible to all. Fully accessibility. It's not just thinking of fighting for elevators or ramps, but the same time comes with that is we need to update Braille. We need to update the platform to make sure that the platform is even to get on and off the train or the bus or the railroads. There's so much out there in accessibility, but we have to keep moving into the future of it. But how can we do that? How can we advocate on this? A lot of us have been advocating and always pushing, which we should always still continue doing that. Is that. So let me just move on. As you have heard the last couple of days and the last few, well, let's say from this month, the budget coming in. The budget is so important, not just coming in for the city, not just the state, but federal as well. To get a lot of these stations fully accessible is money and funding. We as advocates today have to remind ourselves that we need to make sure that a train station is fully accessible. When I say fully accessible, it's not just an elevator, not just the signages, but proper LED lighting, updating making sure that the signs where the platform we can see on the floor where we're supposed to get on and off. There are some platforms are so old, they're centuries old. But to do that, we need the funding. And let me make this clear. It's not just the subways we have to keep advocating. We have to make sure that even the DOT, our next door neighbors, the Port Authority, as well as everything, to make it clear that everything must be fully accessible and making sure that cameras, lighting, a lot of this is fully up to date. But we need everyone to continue advocating on this. How can we advocate if we don't keep moving forward and watching them? I don't need to watch them on the news. I'll watch them at the board meeting. I'll watch them. Why is the press giving wrong information sometimes? And they always leave out accessibility. And I'm not just saying one type of accessibility, all accessibility, seniors, disabled, and veterans. We are very important too. And it's nice to hear that the MTA has been saying that we have been mentioning accessibility very much. But how can we do that? So let's make sure we continue. Now, also, it's not just worrying about the trains and buses, but we have to think of safety as well. We need to make clear that we need law enforcement on the trains. And yes, some places at certain bus areas, like major transit connections, where we're seeing that we're not feeling safe in our own, not just community, but let's say downtown areas, downtown Brooklyn, downtown Manhattan, downtown Bronx, downtown Staten Island, downtown Queens, or Long Island City, or everywhere we go, even upstate or the Long Island. We need to make sure that officers, any kind of officers in our New York region, is getting paid and hiring more. But to do that, we need to make sure the funding goes in and continue advocating, but not fighting, not yelling. Now, in the MTA book, I'm sorry, correction that, on the budget book of New York State has shown what things are in there. It is nice to see the word accessibility in there. You see, now it is our job to make sure that our state senators, New York State Senator and the assemblymen are doing their part to getting the accessibility in. 67 subway stations, ADA accessibility, modifying it. And just make this clear. It's not just an elevator. It's not just a ramp, but everything has to come with it. There is new stuff. We have to encourage this in the future. And I will show more in a few minutes about. But accessibility in there. And let me remind you, the Second Avenue subway is another thing that we have to continue putting in as well. How can we do that if accessibility and the Second Avenue subway phase 2 doesn't go up to Harlem, 125th Street, to connect people to Metro North? We already have enough congestion on the 4, 5, and 6. Buses are already overcrowded. Accessorize are times getting stuck. We asked everyone, we need to put it in. We should not be giving up. That's why you see me wearing this shirt. It says New York Tough. We have to be sometimes tough, but not too much tough. We have to think the future of accessibility. Moving forward on that and making sure that every station is even easier to get on and off on the train, and making sure our stations are up to date now or worse. We don't want to go worse, and we don't want to go back. Now, I am going to also mention a little bit. We have to improve the routes of buses. Yes, we also have to improve balancing the bus stops. That's also related to improving accessibility. We need to make clear that some of us always get MTA. Everyone thinks the bus stops are MTA. Yes, the bus stops there, but the signs, the bus stops, our responsibility is DOT. We need to remind ourselves that Department of Transportation has an accessibility representative. Please make sure that even you just type in DOT accessibility. And Jason, make sure you write that in onto the chat, please. DOT accessibility. Once you put that in onto your computer, you're automatically realizing it's there for a reason. And it's there to remind our representative, his name is Edmund, to let him know that certain areas are not accessible, are not fully accessible or safe. That is something we have to continue advocating as well, because we have to advocate safe and smart. Now, I am going to mention safety again. Executive clues, this is including in the book, is making sure, as the governor has mentioned, LD lighting for train stations. And some of the streets you have seen LD lighting. Yes, maybe some streets are not bright enough, but that's something that you have to advocate with your community boards and your city officials and state officials. But we need to update the gates. We are getting tired of seeing fare invasions. Accessibility cannot even get into a train or leave the train safely. It's not fair to them. It is not fair for a senior or a person with a disability who is in a wheelchair, walker, motorized wheelchair, or even a shopping cart, who just pays the fare and wants to get on, but people have to knock them over. That is not right and not safe. But the only way to do that is we have to put it in. There are ways of doing it, and advocates together need to continue doing that. I am still doing that. I know everyone else who's in this room is doing that today. So let's make sure we please continue doing our part there. Now, I have mentioned this, and someone else has already been familiar, the Neverlands program. As you know, the Neverlands program, it's been being tested. It's been tested since J Street Metrotech when we had Andy Byford. And it's been working very well. It has nothing to do with death or blind communities. And if I said it wrong, I apologize. But it also helps the language barrier also, because you never know that a language, someone might speak a different language and doesn't know how to get from A to B or B to A. This is something that everyone should look at, study it, and always make sure you visit the MTA accessibility page and make sure that you get to know the Neverlands. It is available at certain bus lines. It is going to be increasing more this year. More information will come later this year, or should I say, stay tuned on the MTA board, or if you're on the mailing list for the MTA accessibility, stay tuned for their newsletter every month as well. And this is something that we continue advocating because this has been working very well. Yes, it is on the 6 line. It is on partially on the 1 line. They are trying to do in other stations. If you see that logo, and I apologize, I don't have the right picture, but it looks a little square box. That means you can scan onto your phone the Neverlands program if you have the Neverlands on your phone. And let me tell you, it is a very good tool to use as well. So let me just make it, let's move on. Now, our goals to make MTA fully accessible. Bigger elevators, we all been saying, wider ramps. Some stations are maybe even to the station, we could still advocate for ramps. But remember, not all stations can be a ramp because it is very high or very tight. But there are stations we know, and I know a lot of people agree with me, there is at least additional 10 more stations could also be ramped. Update, okay, and I know the assistant button, somebody's going to ask me. The assistant button, which is on the top right on the PowerPoint, that is an assistant button that's right now on the Long Island railroads that assists any senior or a person with a disability. Right now, it is in the Nassau and parts of Suffolk County branch lines. And yes, there is one in Brooklyn at Nostrand Avenue. What we're seeing is today is to get the accessibility in there, it will press and it will show an orange light. So when the train crew sees that an accessibility assistance, that will help them to get on. The conductor will come and assist them onto the train. This train will get them on, even the bridge plate, and make sure they're in the right place and where they're going. So that's one. Yes, and also very important, updating our buses, Access-a-Ride, our regular MTA buses, our train cars, and I already mentioned the Neverlands program. It is something that we need to continue advocating, not just to the MTA, but to all our elected officials today. The future of accessibility rides with us, everyone. The reason you see here, when we've been accomplishing for the last almost now 5.5 years, getting the signs on the floor, boarding areas, updating our lighting to LED lighting, updating our train cars, updating getting more accessible stations, elevators, ramps. Yes, and the Omni Reduced Fare card, and a special device that will transfer you from subway to subway. That machine is called a transfer machine, which does work, but at certain stations. So this is things that we have to continue advocating. If we don't do this, it's going to look like this again. Dirty stations, everything falling apart, people getting stuck because they can't get to the doctors, they can't get to where they have to go. I am encouraging everyone to please, let's not look at this again. A lot of us wants to be somewhere we can get it somewhere safe, an accessibility way, a safe way. So we all continue advocating today and every time. And reminding our elected officials, it doesn't matter which elected official represents what party. They represent us. We need them to put in the accessibility. We are the advocates are watching the MTA. We advocate. We remind them that we need this. We are watching them. We're the eyes and ears, but we don't need to fight at them. We need to keep the elected officials to know that this is the future, not the past. So, support letters is the most powerful weapon. I'm going to repeat. Support letters and support petitions. It is very simple. As I'm going to say, and I said this earlier, support letters, support petitions. You can send a letter to MTA 2 Broadway, New York, New York, 1004. You can always bring it to the MTA board, or you can always submit it there, which Jason's going to explain in a few minutes. Or you can, and make sure that that letter, send it to your city, state, and the federal officials to let them know this, that you need an accessible station. You need the station to be fully accessible. If we're getting stations that can't believe that Queensboro Plaza or Sheepshead Bay or the Bronx is getting accessible, like Tremont Avenue, Westchester Square, it's just got accessible. Stations are coming in. But to do that, communities, advocates, agencies, parents, students, little kids, big kids, seniors, veterans are putting it in. And they don't realize they're advocating for accessibility. A petition is not that hard to do, but make sure it's not rude and disrespectful, but show that why you need it. Why is the why word is why. I just ask that, and just to remind everyone, everything I have said today, I made it a little easier, but I am going to remind everyone, please make sure you visit these pages, study it, play with it, do whatever you want with it, but link to it on this. I encourage you all, the future to rise with us is to move forward. As Edith said, if we're all going to talk about the past a lot, we're not going to get over it. And guess what? That's all I got to say from there. We have the future and accessibility rise with us. Rise with us. We move forward from there. So I am just going to remind everyone, please do that. Now, before I introduce the famous Jason Anthony, we do have the MTA is going to have their 2025-2029 capital plan public hearing on February 4th. I'm going to ask Jason, and I'm going to ask the famous Jason Anthony is going to explain about how to do this procedure, how to register, or if you can't be there, he's going to explain in a accessibility way, and the MTA board committee meetings. They have changed some new procedures, and MTA has agreed that we want to make sure everyone understands these new procedures. Some of us already know this, but we want to make sure that everyone is aware. So therefore, just to make note that sometimes the committee meetings could change because something must have changed or something might came up or something went wrong, but we want to make it easier for everyone. So I'm going to ask the famous Jason Anthony to explain. Jason, take it away, sir.
Thank you so much, Chris. Uh, we just posted on the chat all the necessary links that everybody could go to. But without further ado, let's take it away. As everybody see, here is the direct link that everybody has to go to. mta.info/transparency. And here you have two main tabs. The first one will be the MTA board. The direct link that everybody has to go to. mta.info/transparency. Chris, your mic is okay, there we go. The first one will be board and committee meetings. As you guys see, the board meetings and subcommittees for this month, the dates has been posted. The subcommittees will be meeting on Monday, January 27th from 8:45 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Keep in mind that each meeting has their time. For example, I know that everybody will want to speak for New York State Transit. So you will click this link on top, learn how to speak on January board and committee meetings. You will see two links. This one on your left column will be for Wednesday. But if you want to speak for Monday, use those columns on your left. You will click let's use, for example, the one for transit. That'll be the one on 10:30 in the morning. Here you will have two options. The one on top will be in person. If you want to do it in person, that's fine. The option on the bottom will be virtual. But let's say if you are unable to, let's say for unknown circumstances, you are unable to do neither, then you have this third option. You could email the board itself. So right here, you fill out your information, your first, last name, email address, and then you select the comment category. Could be a complaint, a compliment, request, or a suggestion. Let's say you're requesting an elevator at X or Y or Z station. You put request, then you put I'm requesting an elevator at, let's say, somewhere in the Bronx. Let's put Morrison Avenue Soundview. That could be the subject. And then at the bottom, you could put any comment that you want. And then once you're done, you click submit. And then once you are done, the comment will be properly received by the MTA board and put it in for the record. For Wednesday's full board, it will be the same procedure. Now, we will have a public hearing coming up in February 4th. That will be regarding the capital plan. That will be for the fiscal year. As you see, the copy of the public notice hearing is published in 7 languages from English to Russian. And here's the estimated federal request dollars that the MTA is requesting per each agency. And the hearing date will be Tuesday, February 4th, starting at 6 p.m. The hearing will be hybrid, both in person and on Zoom. And as a reminder, each person will have 2 minutes to speak. And here are the MTA rules and conduct. I'm gonna be very, very honest, and let's keep it plain and simple. Each person should register in advance, state their name and any organization they should represent, and identify the topics or actions or items in the meeting work plan or materials on which they will plan to speak. Each speaker should adhere to the time allocated to the speakers at that meeting. Time may not be transferred from one speaker to another. Remarks should be related to action items or subjects identified for substantial discussion in the meeting work plan or materials for that meeting. So that means agenda. Stick to agenda. And this one is very important. Speakers shall address their remarks only to the chairperson of the meeting and shall not make personal, impertinent, insulting, or slanderous statements about any member of the MTA board, staff, or about other members of the public. We have witnessed this in the past, and the results have not been the best of any group's interest. So anybody has to make their remarks to the chairperson of each committee, and the full board, they have to address it directly to the chairman, that in this case is Jano Lever. Each person who wished to attend a MTA board or committee meeting in person must sign in to the lobby building and pass through security to be permitted into the building. This is no questions asked. Because if not, they will be removed for MTA police. This is again no questions asked. And this one is extremely important. Members of the public may not use profanity, vulgar language, make any threats, engage in other behavior that could disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting or threaten safety. Again, if any person makes any type of misbehavior, this person or persons could may be removed by MTA security or MTA police. No questions asked. And also, members of the public may not display materials promoting or opposing any political party or candidate for incumbent or federal office, state and judicial or local government office while speaking. Because again, security and MTA police, while conducting the screening, will confiscate any posters. This is again and emphasizing no questions asked. And last but not least, members of the public, and this is including elected officials alike, including public speakers, may not display or distribute banners or signs or flyers within the meeting. Because again, MTA security, MTA police could remove the person from the meeting, and this is very important. No questions asked and with no discretion, because the MTA, it will enforce the rules no matter the person it is. It could be an elected official, federal, state, city council, uh, let's say county executive, you guys name it. Even an activist, the MTA nowadays is applying the rules very strictly. This is not New Jersey Transit Corporation, it is subsidiaries. This is not the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. This is the new MTA, not the old MTA, where the rules of conduct was not enforced. So again, for those that want to attend the meeting, please arrive early, that they could be admitted in with a sufficient amount of time.
Thank you, Jason. I see you just something must have happened, but we got you, Jason. First of all, thank you very much to explain this to everyone, and these because we do follow these rules. Jason, you can unshare so I can share back. But this isn't very important to all of us because, and I know a lot of us are watching the YouTube channel because I just checked. Welcome on who's watching on the YouTube channel. I know we have a lot of people watching, and trust me, Jason, the numbers are a little different, so don't worry. Now I'm going to move on to our part, maybe favorite part is, and I think everyone's been waiting. I know some of us have put this in the chat. Thank you. Time to put your questions, raise your hand, put your name into the thing. I know some people are coming on now, which they're very late, but that's okay. But just to remind everyone, now's the time. If you have questions, comments, to please raise your hand onto the chat. As a remind you that the hand raise is very simple, which I heard already. Pops goes the weasels. That's good. Before we do the hand raise, just to remind you, we are going to do hand raise. I'm going to ask Jason to read questions from the chat and the YouTube channel. So Jason gives you time to look at the YouTube at the same time. But I'm going to remind everyone, please be very clear what you're saying in your questions. We want to be very clear because we do have a lot of people watching in both areas from the Zoom and the YouTube. And to remind you, let's please be courtesy and respect to everyone. I'm going to start with I can't even say his name because it's so small.
Manny Bucky's Highland.
Yes, can you unmute him, please, Jason?
Thank you, Jason, and good evening, Chris. Well, it's great that you're doing this, accessibility on the annual state of accessibility because as accessibility is a human right. And the future rides not only with me, but it rides with all of us, and that is great that you're doing this presentation tonight. As you know, Chris, you could be a success with Andrew and Albert in the New York State Transit Riders Council one day as the chair. So thank you very much.
Yes, and I'm just going to say this tonight. I'm not here as Transit Riders Council. I'm not here as ACTA. I am the president of this group I created already now 3 years already when Edith passed away, which was called the ADA Accessibility Transportation Group. And right now, the main focus tonight is to encourage every advocate today to continue advocating to make everything on the MTA end fully accessible. So I do want to thank you for that comment. And also, going to move on to any other hand raise right now. Just want to make sure. Guys, this is the best time to bring up your questions. And I know some people are trying to think of disappearing, but it's okay because they're also on the chat as well. Jason, can you check the YouTube channel now? And if anyone has questions to raise their hand around this time?
Nothing on YouTube. Lorraine asked earlier if the recording is gonna be shared. The answer is yes. As a reminder, every meeting that we do of this type is also live streamed on YouTube. I see that Brittany is using a AI note taker. Okay. Take away the meeting. Yes. Submit support letters. Attend the MTA meetings. That's correct.
And Jason, just to add in, it isn't now to answer some because I'm reading some of the questions here. As I said, this accessibility issue at bus stops, streets, and all should be attending. Yes, they should be all attending. If you can't be there, as Jason has explained it, how to do a different option. If you're having trouble with it, that's where there is always other other people, other friends, brother and sisters can assist you. But remind you that you have optionals. The word optional should be in the word. The options are there. And I know that people may think that they're not listening. Well, they are listening because for us to get an accessible station, it's not just accessible station, but getting signages fixed, how can we put them in? And just going to remind, because I see some people's faces going like that. Just to remind you, please make sure you raise your hand because the mute button is locked for important reasons. So we have no one interrupting. Now, I do see some represented elected officials are here and they're watching on the YouTube channel. If you have questions or comments, please make sure you put it into the chat or raise your hand if you're here in the Zoom with us. If you're on the YouTube, please put those questions into the YouTube right now. And it doesn't matter how small or big it is. A lot of these questions are very important to hear. We like to hear because you don't realize we're not just we're advocates, but MTA does listen to the YouTube channels and they do check this. This is not what it was in the past. So I want to be very, very clear that we do see a lot of elected officials, not just on Zoom, but watching it on the YouTube channel. So I do want to thank them who are here tonight as well. So Jason, as some people are having a little, and just letting you know, some people are having Wi-Fi outage issues. So we are aware of that. Don't worry. You can always switch over to the YouTube channel. Now,
that is correct. The only thing that I'm going to say is that again, the MTA is trusting us as advocates that we have been working a lot to put accessibility on the forefront of all of this and keeping the legacy of our late friend Ida Prentice because her legacy has to be continued. We see a comment from Catherine. Thank you. Catherine, thank you for being with us. Rest for sure. Uh, this is not this is not the end. This is only the start of our work this year. We got a lot done in 2024 because last year, Chris, Debbie, and we got the reduced fare on the path with no elected officials from both sides of the Hudson. And in 2025, our work is going to continue. We already had one elevator opening this past week along the 6th. That's why when I do this, it shows my favorite line. That's the 6th because of one simple purpose. I was born along the 6th line in the Bronx. One of the few lines in the Bronx that has the few accessible stations in the Bronx that now has Ham Bay Park, Westchester Square, East Tremont Avenue, Hunts Point, and soon Harchester. And let's not forget East 149th Street.
And Jason, one thing is also, as I said before, and I'll repeat because somebody did ask this question. I just got a message from here. They're saying that this is something that we all need to put ourselves together, encouraging our elected officials, reminding them that we need to update our transportation, not just on the trains and buses. But when you're mentioning the PATH train, yes, that is something to add into the Port Authority, that we are working with them, but advocating, not fighting, not yelling, not criticizing, but working together, moving forward to the future of accessibility is the one thing that we want to be very clear to everyone. And the message has to come out today and anytime. And I'm just going to ask, I know some people put in their comments in the chat. Jason, I got a message. Sorry. I got a message from one of our elected officials because she's watching, but she texted to me. I'm just going to read this. Just going to just because this is not just one elected official, but they're saying the same thing. First of all, they're saying this is a very good presentation. Yes, we agree that this is something that we need to move forward. So I'm just going to remind everyone, yes, we have to move forward in accessibility, but please assure that we hope to see everyone to please put in support letters and continuing to remind your officials that we need these stations, any train station, and that's including the railroads, the Metro Norths, everything fully accessible, updating the system. But how can we do that? Funding on that. But that's something that we have to continue doing. And I know a lot of us are hiding under the screens here, and I know some of us may have questions, comments on you can raise your hand right now, or I'm going to continue looking at the chat at the same time. If you don't want to say anything on the screen or unmute, once we unmute you, we will then look at the chat at the same time as well as we're looking at the YouTube. So if you have questions, comments, don't be shy and hide. Say something.
This is the time that all disability advocates should be reminded that no matter what happens, if a new federal administration is in, we should be always resilient
And
and
remind them
shown
and reminding that you represent this district. Please make sure that you are helping your fellows, your communities who are seniors, disabled, or veterans, or any culture. Make sure that your area is the curb cuts are fully accessible, a bus stop has access, trash cans, everything. Make sure everything is accessible on that as well.
And let's not forget, Chris, parents with strollers.
Mhm.
Because let's not forget those parents with strollers were with us in the during a period during the open stroller pilot in the buses. We thought that they could have their place in the bus.
Yes, but always remember, not all not all the buses have that stroller pilot. That's something that we still need to continue working on as well. So that's something we can always encourage that. Jason, can you check the YouTube just to make sure there's any questions? And I'm going to ask anyone here on the Zoom has a question to please put their hand up, or any ideas or comments you want to add in. Or I'm going to ask, I'm also going to ask our elected official representatives if you have any questions. So please let us know. And I do see other agencies here, so I just want to be clear. You guys have any questions or comments? This is one time to say what you have to say. Also, just want to be very clear.
And before anything, uh, personally, we want to thank all of those um el- staff from those elected officials for being with us. And we know that we have your support, but with the only thing that we need right now is action from that elected official.
What we need is
No,
we need from all the elected official representatives who are here or watching this on the YouTube. The future accessibility rides with
with
us.
us.
And the thing is we need this to be it moving forward, making sure how can we communicate. You have other opportunities to always, if requesting a meeting with MTA Accessibility, please make sure you get a chance to have a meeting with the chief accessibility or his team, because they do go out on the field, out there and explaining the new accessibility procedures. So we want to be very clear. Now, I am going to just say this for the last time, since no one else has any comments and questions before we end tonight. And I see a chat coming in.
Okay, we have a question. Mary Pearson
Yeah.
put it in. Expanding express bus reduce fare hours. I was told by MTA outreach representative December 16th on the Bronx 2024-2029 capital plan. Uh
Okay, Jason,
okay,
I got it, Jason. I got it. Let me just make this very clear. During rush hour only from the hours of 3 to 7, or let's just say 6:45 to 9 a.m. Those are during rush hour. The reduced fare for the express buses cannot change. Everyone for reduced fare has to pay the full fare. Only off peak or on weekends, which is during the midday, late nights, which there is some express buses and late nights, and during the weekends, those are the regular reduced fare price. I know because I was there at the Capitol, and this has been mentioned. Even at 3 o'clock, it is the full fare price. Unless you're coming from a local, then you only pay the transfer plus whatever the fare you already pay on the local to the express bus. Now, there is a second question also. Happy to get a resource community liaison from the Office of New York City Speaker and Committee of Mental Health Disability. Okay, they're
that
asking.
okay, that's coming from Lorianne.
Oh, City Council office. And I will just say, and I will just put this in on the chat, and I know somebody just put a heart in. If you want some,
That was me and
I know that's you.
Lorianne.
I know. I see. I saw that. I saw that. Let me just finish what I was saying. Okay. And I see someone else wrote something else, and I'll read that in a second. To answer that question also, I will forward this to the MTA accessibility team, and someone should get back to you. Because it's not just we're dealing with mental health. Remember, we're dealing with all disabilities. There are developmental disabilities. There is OPWDD, mental health, OISA, and I know if I left out some more, everyone else can back me up on the chat on that as well. This next question that came in, it has my name on it. I can see Chris. Thank you so much for all you do doing advocating for ADA accessibility across the city. We I think somebody spelled something wrong, but with you always here to support. Thank you for the one. If I explain all this, we'll start crying here, Jason. But they're just saying, can we put forward any ideas directly to me to the office? That's not a problem. Oh, that's the assembly office. Not a problem. We will make sure that some of the ideas that we have mentioned already today, and it's on the YouTube, we're just encouraging everyone to please move forward because accessibility needs to be put into this category in all transportation on this. And the reason I'm saying this now is Metro North has been testing out the new assistant button. Right now, it's in Poughkeepsie, upstate New York right now, which is the last stop of the electric trains. If once we have more testing on it and more adding to other stations, this will assist more accessibility customers. We're talking about seniors and disabled. It's already on the Long Island Railroad. Right now, it's now trying to get into Metro North. This is a project that not just me, not just Deborah Greif or Ann Menino, Edith Prentice as well, was trying to get something to work on for an assistant button to make sure that it assists in its ADA. It's somewhere like on the subway where the trains are being held in the station, the homing lights. It's the same way they're doing it now to make clear that the train cannot leave an accessible customer behind. If they do, they get in trouble. And that I know. So I want to thank you for that one. And those are the last questions. Jason, can you just double check the chat for the YouTube? And I will give a chance if anyone else has any additional questions.
Correction, Chris. You mentioned Poughkeepsie. It should be Croton Harmon.
Thank you. I was just going to say Carl Harmon, but they are supposed to start one at Poughkeepsie as well. But you're correct. Thank you, Jason. Carl Harmon, thank you. But it's been a long day. Okay, since no one else has any questions in the chat, before we end, I do want to thank the big thank you goes to Jason Anthony on this, and I do want to thank our elected officials, representatives who are here and watching on the YouTube channel. We hope to see everyone. Please try to attend the MTA board and the Pucker hearing on February 4th. If you can't be there, don't worry. Just put it in your comments in ahead of time, or there is a hotline for that number. Jason, can you make sure you forward it into the chat, the phone number for the people who want to register to speak, maybe Zoom or on virtual or in person?
Sure. The phone number.
Can you put it into the chat? Thank you. And as you do that, I'm just going to read this question as you're going. The express bus reduced fare hours. Okay. As I repeat again, yes, it is in the evening, 3 to 7 during that time. As Jason is going to put in the number, I'm just going to read this first. The answer to your question, Mary, it is 3 to 7. And in the early morning, when it's the morning rush hour also. And I think that's 6:45. And Mary, give me, okay. Mary, Jason, unmute Mary. Her hand is up. Mary, you can you're unmuted. You can speak now.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I am aware that the peak hours are morning from 6 to 10 and evening from 3 to 7, and that is what I'm intending to try to do, is to change the evening hours from 3 to 7 to make them the same as the off-peak fare for the outer boroughs deadheading back to Manhattan to catch a show, have some kind of entertainment with the ability to have it half fare. And I thought that that might be something that the group would be interested, perhaps some in the group would be interested to support. But no, I do know what's in existence, and you know what's in existence that are the obstacles for people with disabilities, and that's what we're all trying to fight, our own little niches. And I thought this was a wonderful group, a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
And Mary, before you leave, just to let you know, I think it is a good idea because during the rush hour, if you are using the express bus, yes, there should be a reduced fare price. But I would also suggest a letter should be sent to not just to the MTA, but also CC to your city and state officials to try to do something on a pilot. The thing is the MTA was thinking about it. And I'm just going to say, I think if it's more everyone here who's agreeing is interested, I will suggest you guys please put that into make sure you mention it to the Subway and Bus Committee on this coming Monday. That answer your question, Mary?
Oh, I'm still unmuted. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I see you're welcome too on the chat. Okay, now just to let everyone know for the public hearing on February 4th, Jason, can you just type in the date and the time, please? The phone number there is if you want to register for the public hearing for the MTA Capital, you can bring that up. You can bring your comments. You can do it here like on Zoom. They're on Zoom, or you can also bring it into the accessibility. I'm sorry. You can also, as Jason mentioned earlier, you can type it in, put your comments in. Same way you do on the board, same way you do it at the MTA there as well. And I see, I don't know who's coming in now, but still let them in anyway. But as I remind you that part of the accessibility is very getting things advocating, and I don't see there's a problem. I think ideas need to come in, but February 4th is the MTA Capital public hearing, February 4th. Phone number is there. If you're having trouble doing it on the computer, you have the option to give them a call. And make sure you put your full name, and make sure they're going to ask you, are you doing this on virtually or in person? The choice is yours. Jason, how are we doing on the YouTube?
We're doing fine. Just a reminder for everybody. I know that Mary mentioned the past capital plan. The December 16th open house was for the upcoming capital plan. That's for the 2025 to 2029 capital plan that was done in the Bronx. And hopefully the MTA will resume doing those open houses throughout the region that already was done in 4 of the 5 boroughs. We hope that they will do one in Long Island, in Westchester, and in the west of Hudson region. And obviously up north in, let's say, in Orange County and in Putnam County. And
We'll see.
all of these open houses will be in person.
Well, all I can say is, Jason, is stay tuned for that. And I will say to everyone, oh, I'm looking all the way down. But I'll just say this. I know we got another question. Okay. But yes, and just learning it, it's just contributing learning. It does help to share that information. But as Jason's reminding, there was open houses in other boroughs, other counties. Thank you for bringing that up, Jason. Since no one else has any questions or any comments.
If Mary could contribute more, sure, we could, if Mary wants to share more, I'll say go for it, Mary.
Otherwise, we're going to just say to everyone as a lovely message, what we always say, on our ending part, we do want to remind everyone. Yes, Mary, you're muted because we once you're muted, it's locked. because we don't want people to interrupt when people are speaking, or it's very, we want to make sure no echo. You were saying, go ahead, Mary.
Yes, I was at that meeting in December. I was told of a campaign by people on the 6 train, the 6 line, your birthplace, yeah, right? That the Middletown Road people got together and sued the MTA. They had just renovated the station and gave not a thought to ADA people, to people with disabilities. So they sued with the help of a group called Disabled in Action. Gene Ryan's the president. Bronx Independent Living.
Yes, we know Gene Ryan very well.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let you know, That was from the old MTA that time. 'Cause this is when Andy Byford did not come in. But when he heard that answer, he did fight to get that station. And let me just say, thanks to him, and we can all thank Andy Byford. This is why the second list of accessibility lists is going forward. And the complete list, which the last station was Hunter College on the 6 train, got completed. And thanks to other advocates as well, including we can thank the late, not the late, we like to thank Trudy Mason for that as well.
Okay. So you know all about it. Good.
Everyone don't realize that history and DIA is a very good very good advocate group, which I will encourage everyone. DIA, Jeans Ryan's group, is always when we need them advocating. We also know HRC, who is here tonight. They're a very good, a great group as well. We have a lot of, if I mention every group here, we'll be here until next year. And we can thank, there is another group we can thank. It's the DD councils and the other boroughs. Thank you for them to making sure they're watching as well. And we do want to thank, we do have one of the advisory councils here tonight, the Brooklyn Advisory Council. Ms. Greif is here as well. She's been always a big support. Yes, she wears different hats, but tonight she's listed as the advisory. And we know that other advisories and DD councils are watching this on the YouTube channel, and our elected officials are watching. So we know they're listening and watching. So we do want to thank Mary for those questions and comments she put in. It is important in history. A lot of history and advocating is a way of doing it too. But there are some new tricks we have to always keep. Jason, since no one else has any questions in the chat, I think we want to call this an end tonight, because I think we had a really good attendance. And let everyone get a chance to sooner or later, people might want to say, want to watch Wheel of Fortune, or maybe want to get ready to get some sleep tonight. You know what I mean?
Yes, because we have an event tomorrow.
Yes, and let's keep that secret. Thank you. We have things that we as advocates may have to go to events, trainings, and stuff. But before we end, we do want to thank Jason Anthony. We do want to thank all the advocates, elected officials who are here. Yes, and thank you to, and Jason will say thank you to Chris, who created this thing today.
And like always, I want to thank Chris, Deborah Greif, and Menino. And let's not forget the late Edith Prentice, because if it wasn't for Edith, none of this wouldn't be possible.
So on behalf of the ADA Accessibility Transportation Group page, which you can visit us on our Facebook page, we want to thank everyone who attended and who is watching us live on the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being there. And let's remember, the future of accessibility rides with us. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.